Hello, everyone out there in the multiverse. It's me, Dan. And earlier this evening, I was able to have a chat with Phillip Kennedy Johnson, uh, the upcoming writer for Superman and Action Comics over at DC, and the brand new Alien series at Marvel. Enjoy. Start out. How did you get into comics?
Into reading them or get into the industry?
Into reading them and then into the industry.
I mean, I learned how to read off of comics when I was a little kid. My dad would always bring home these boxes of old comics from flea markets and garage sales and whatever. And I just loved them. I mean, that's how I learned to read. I learned how to love, I learned the love of reading from those old books.
Okay.
And sometimes, I mean, back then I was never in a comic shop. I bought everything off of grocery store, drugstore, spinner racks. That's where I got everything back then. I didn't know that comic stores were a thing until I was a little older. But but mostly I got my stuff from these old boxes of stuff, and that's how I learned to read, really. And then later, I mean, so in those early years, those comics kind of ended up becoming kind of these three big piles. I had a DC stack and a Marvel stack, and then this stack of kind of kid stuff like Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Beagle Boys, Scrooge McDuck kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, they were awesome. I reread them, and I read them and reread them for years and years. And then later in life, I kind of, like, when I'm off to college, I didn't read for fun hardly ever. I was super busy all the time, and I kind of fell out of it. But then I had a younger brother who wanted to become an artist, a comic artist specifically, and didn't really know how to get started. And I hadn't read a book or hadn't read a comic in such a long time. But I kind of been wanting to get back into it. And at this point, I had a job, and I was kind of living life, and I kind of want to get back into it. Didn't really know how to do that. I just kind of had this itch. And when he said he wanted to be a comic artist and didn't really know how to get going, I was like, well, I'll write some stuff for you to draw. And he didn't have any pages of sequentials. He just had like pinups and stuff. And so I just kind of educated myself on how comics were made. And he and I would go to conventions all the time, and met a lot of people, found out more about what a script looks like, about what the process is like of making a book. And yeah, it just sort of worked out.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your past works that you've done.
My first comic, I guess, that got drawn was, well, aside from, actually, I wrote a couple of shorts for my brother to draw, and those are still around. I have them somewhere. And they were fun, but it was just kind of for us. Mm-hmm. Then my brother joined the Army. He and I were both I'm in the Army now, and he was in the Army for a while as well. And during that time, I was kind of looking for other people to work with, and found this other amazing artist that just graduated from SCAD, from Savannah College of Art and Design, named Steve Beach, who is just this horror savant. Just incredibly talented in horror books. And I kind of wanted to do a black and white thing. So I did this webcomic called The Lost Boys of the U-Boat Bremen that is still on my website now. It's like a 110-page graphic novel, period horror piece. It's on a U-boat during World War II. Turned out beautifully, very proud of it. And but that was just a webcomic at that time. And around that same time, I was starting to go to conventions, like bigger conventions, more frequently. And I had put together a couple other pitches that I would just keep it on my Kindle Fire that I would carry around with me, and I would show editors or publishers or artists or whatever, just to kind of put my name in their brain. And one of those became Last Sons of America, which was my first printed book from Boom Studios. That I ended up meeting Philip Sablik, at the time was VP of Marketing and Publishing, and they dug the book, and so we got it made. So that was me and Matthew Dow Smith. And that led to Warlords of Appalachia, which led to some licensed books at Boom, like Kong and Adventure Time and Planet of the Apes. And at some point I got noticed by DC, and I did an Aquaman annual then. And then, Marvel Zombies Resurrection, and just sort of things just kept getting bigger. And now we're doing Superman and Alien here.
Yeah. What's your writing process like?
My writing process. That's a big question. So you mean like just taking a blank page and turn it into a comic script?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So I outline a lot. I think it's really important to start from basically I'll start with just a super easy concept, and then I'll blow that out into a 1-page synopsis. I'll make that into a somewhat more detailed synopsis, and then I'll turn it into what's called breakdowns, where it's basically a very detailed outline where you're showing, you're numbering each page. So like page 1, here's what happens. Page 2, here's what happens. And you're breaking it down to make sure that you have space to tell. At this point, you're visualizing exactly what's happening in roughly the amount of panels you're going to have to tell that story. So that breakdown stage is real important. If you find out you've got a 30-page story that you just cannot get down to 20 or 22 pages, then you've got to make some real changes. Mm-hmm. So break it down to breakdowns, and from there into, so then I have a page of breakdowns for one issue that's probably in the neighborhood of a page long. And then I will take each, page description, like a 1-sentence summary, and put it on. I had this comic book script template that I just fill in with stuff. So page 1, I'll fill in what happens there in red. Page 2, same thing. I'll just put everything in there in red lines. And then I'll go through and I'll turn each, 1-line summary into an actual page of script that breaks it down panel by panel. And add the dialogue. If it's a character development kind of scene, if there's a conversation that really matters, I'll start with that. Like I'll write the conversation first, and then I'll keep tweaking that until it's the right length. If it's an action scene, usually I will save the dialogue until the very last, because it's kind of secondary to the visual beats, So whether I do the panel breakdowns or the dialogue beats first depends on what kind of scene it is. And then, just sort of takes on a life of its own after that.
All right. How much research do you put into the characters that you work on?
That depends a lot on what it is. If it's that depends. So like if it's an alien story, I went back and rewatched all the movies except Resurrection, which I still can't get through. I really, I don't like that one much. But the others, I went all the way through them again and watched all the extras, rewatched. I mean, I've seen all that stuff already, but I went back and watched all the documentaries again about how they were made and just kind of familiarize myself with that stuff again. If it's something that takes place in a historical time period, then I'll do a great deal of research. I'll read, a lot about that time period. I'll read a lot of journals that were written around that time, or it depends on what it is. Like when I was writing Captain America, I actually went back and listened to a lot of speeches by like FDR and Walter Cronkite, and just people who just kind of had a voice of moral authority back then, just to kind of get a sense of how Cap would talk. And because when Cap walks in, everyone just kind of listens. I wanted everything he said to feel like it came out of one of those speeches from back then.
Okay. What current comic books are you currently reading?
Gideon Falls. I'm digging Gideon Falls a lot. I like Ice Cream Man a lot. Immortal Hulk is good. Let's see, what else am I reading? I tend to go back and read older stuff. I just read through Land of the Suns, the graphic novel by Fantagraphics. Let's see, great artist named Gipi, Gipi, and I'm actually not sure how you pronounce it. It's like a nickname for him. It's the first couple letters from his first and last name. Let's see what else recently. Hellblazer has been amazing. I'm sorry that's over, but it's been really good. I'm reading some big two stuff by my friends. Like, so I always try to pick up James Tynan's Batman stuff, and let's see what else am I reading lately. I tend to go back and reread. I've been rereading a lot of stuff that I really like. I feel like Scott Snyder's Court of Owls is kind of this masterclass on how to start a great run. I really love the beginning of that run. It just was so effective in the way it drew us in. So I go back and reread Court of Owls every year. I also reread Brian Michael Bendis's New Avengers, like the beginning of that. That was such an amazing run. Same for his Power series. My favorite thing is Monsters. It's an incredible graphic novel that I felt like really raised the bar for the state of the art. So I'll go back and read that, regularly to kind of give me something to aspire to. Sheriff of Babylon by Tom King's great. David Rubin and Garcia Santiago's interpretation of Beowulf is really amazing. So I read that every so often as well. Yeah, I've reread all those recently, and then the new ones were Land of the Suns and those monthlies I mentioned.
Okay. Moving into your current work, you're going to come on Superman. What from the previous run will be carried over into your run?
You mean which? Could you ask that? Maybe rephrase that question a little.
It's more like any plot lines or story beats that will carry over into your run from the previous one.
I feel like he kind of tied it up with the bow at the end of his run. There's not any loose threads that I feel like I need to pick up, but he does, in his run, he does kind of make the Kent family the center of the universe. And that is going to continue to some degree. Like we've seen John go through this huge evolution from being just a kid to being a young adult who is like the founder of the United Planets, which is a huge deal, and which set him up to be, kind of the centerpiece for Legion, which is going beautifully. That we're going to continue to see John's evolution for sure. Like John's going to be a very important part of one of the two series. Like one of the two series is going to be about Superman's relationship with John, and the other one is going to be more Clark centric. So John will be hugely important going forward in one of those books. And then the other one, the events that led to Kandor's destruction actually are going to be pretty important. So we're going to see that developed as well.
Okay. So you kind of answered my next question. I was going to ask you how the two series differ from each other.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. Superman is about the two of them, and then Action Comics is more about Clark.
Okay. Are there any obscure characters or villains that you plan to use in your run?
Yeah. That's a spoiler though, so I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, we'll see. You're going to see some characters you would not expect to see in a Superman book, but you're also going to see a lot of new characters. I'm going to be inventing a lot of new people and giving Clark a little more mythology and history than we realized he had.
Okay. Other than Superman, what would be your dream project for DC?
For DC, there's a murder mystery Batman story I really want to do. Okay. I would love to do a very specific kind of Batman story. I'm a big fan of Long Halloween. Basically, would be my answer to Long Halloween.
Okay.
So if I was going to do DC, it would be that. But I mean, right there with him, I would say Hellblazer. I've read every word Constantine's ever spoken in a comic, and just a huge fan of that character. So I'd love to write Constantine sometime too.
Okay. Let's see. Switching gears, let's talk about Aliens. Marvel just recently acquired these rights, and you'll be the first to adapt them to Marvel. What's that like, bringing such a huge franchise and being the first to bring it to Marvel?
Oh man, it's a dream come true. I'm the biggest Alien fan. I don't know any Alien fans as hardcore as me. I'm sure they're out there, but I'm just the one that's always singing that gospel to anyone who will listen. And when I found out that they had the rights to it, I mean, I found out with everyone else, like just on the internet. And when I saw that news, I literally yelled and was just so stoked for it. I mean, as I didn't know for sure that was going to be happening. I mean, with the Fox deal and all that, I figured it might be happening, but I hadn't heard anything for sure. So honestly, I got the same feeling about Superman and Alien both, where I feel like I should be nervous because there's so much pressure from both, and there's this huge responsibility to make everyone happy with it. But I don't feel that pressure. I feel just like excited and stoked because I know they're not going to find a bigger fan of either property than me. So I mean, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm gonna do. I've been dreaming about both these gigs for a long time, and yeah, fans are in good hands. So I'm just really excited to get started.
Okay. Will this be a clean slate, like a reboot, or are you uh, continuing on? Is it going to be a reboot or a continuation from what's been done before?
It's going to be a continuation of the films. It's not going to rely on the Dark Horse books, really. I think the Dark Horse books are great. Some of them, especially, are super great. But they did get pretty far away from the source material, in my opinion. I thought they got so creative. I mean, their modular approach, where they kept every arc kind of self-contained. I mean, there were little things that would cross over from arc to arc, but generally, each story was its own thing and all had a very different tone. I think that's great, but they definitely started taking some big creative swings towards the end, and I don't. And sometimes they feel implausible in the same universe as the films. They don't feel like the stuff about the royal jelly and the android xenomorph that speaks English, and some of the more creative things, like crazy out of the box things that they've done, I feel like don't exist in the same universe as the movies. And I really wanted this book to feel like it belongs on the shelf next to the films. So this book will be a clean slate as far as the comics, and it will be a real love letter to those first two movies, especially. It's going to kind of continue on with all the seeds that were planted in those first two films.
Okay. And will this be set in the Marvel universe or its own thing, like the movies?
This first arc will not be in the 616. As far as I'm concerned. Like, there may be, sometimes in comics, these different universes tend to be, brought together in some way. If this is in the 616, there is no acknowledgement of that in the book. Right now, this is in the world of the Marvel universe. Excuse me, of the Alien universe.
Are you using any established characters?
You were going to see one familiar face. Yeah.
What can you tell us about the overall direction of your
run? I'm trying not to go too crazy right out of the gate. I'm trying to build up as we go. I really want this first arc to feel like those movies. And there's things about the first two movies I really love. They're very different, as everyone knows who's seen them. I love the claustrophobia of the first one, and just that like that bottle episode aspect of where everyone's trapped on the ship with this thing that's hunting them, and that's just awesome. These people who are not cut out for it, they're just blue collar workers who are just trying to get home, and suddenly there's this thing on the ship with them, and they're all screwed, and just it's so tense, And then the second one is this huge, crazy action movie that's just over the top and awesome. Like each movie takes the next logical step. Like, first you see the alien on the ship with you, and you get a little taste of the android subplot and a little taste of space exploration, and just a taste of the way the xenomorphs procreate and all that. Just like the introduction. In the second movie, you see the nest and the queen and the space marines, and like it just gets bigger, just like that one step bigger. The next one, you see another little corner of the universe, and you see more humans somewhere aside from Earth, and a xenomorph that's not based on humans, one that's based on a quadruped, and it just keeps taking the next step and showing you the next piece. So I'm basically trying to take that next step from that second movie in a different direction. So you're going to see the xenomorph continue to, because I mean, the xenomorph is like the perfect representation of terror on film, I think. But we've all seen the chest burster now. So like that, when you first see the chest burster for the first time, it's like your mind is just forever changed. It's just crazy, scary thing that happens. But now everyone's seen it, so that's not enough. So the trick to do an alien is getting that same reaction without getting taking a step far enough that you get that same reaction, but not so far that it's like crazy pants. It doesn't feel like it's the same project anymore. So the direction is going to be very much the same. Like, imagine Alien 3 and the rest of the movies had never happened, And it's just another step from Alien 2 that continues to develop the themes of the first two films. So it's all about the movies for me. Like every arc we do is going to feel like a self-contained movie that should have been a sequel to the original two Aliens.
To close out this interview, other than Aliens, what would be your dream Marvel project?
I mean, I've had a chance to write Cap already, and that was awesome. I'd love to do more Cap. I'm a huge Bucky fan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Winter Soldier for sure, but also just like Bucky, like teenage psycho Bucky that was over like killing people and behind enemy lines while Cap was doing his thing.
Yeah.
I would love to do like a Kill Squad World War II book with Bucky, Wolverine, and like a World War II era Ghost Rider. I think that'd be super rad. So
all right,
I pick one, that'll be it. I mean, Moon Knight too. I mean, everyone loves Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And I mean, writers love Moon Knight, and everyone wants to write Moon Knight. I know the numbers don't typically get, even when it's got like a superstar team, Moon Knight doesn't necessarily sell as well as some of the other books, but creatively, you can't ask for more. Like he's Batman. If Batman was as psycho as he probably ought to be, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just so crazy. It gives you so many options, like things you can do with him. It would just be amazing. Doctor Strange. There's a lot of really great options, but yeah, I think I've already those top few were my ones I'd go to.
All right. Well, thank you for talking with us. It's been really fun. So.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And that was Phillip Kennedy Johnson. Superman comes out March 9th. Action Comics comes out March 23rd, with Aliens the very next day on the 24th. Pick these titles up and much more at your local comic book shop, and be sure to like and subscribe our channel. And until next time, we will see you in the multiverse. Bye.